Hello, everyone. My name is John Lee. I am head of blockchain ecosystem at Shopify, and I've been voluntold to help moderate this session as well as participate in the session. So I think what we're going to start with, given the fact that we have very limited amount of time, is go through introductions about who we are, what we do, and then go down, and then I'll introduce myself last, and we'll start on the conversation. So if we could get started.
Yeah, sure, thanks. So I'm Lasha from Rarify, and what we do is that we are into indexing data around the NFTs. What does it mean from the user perspective, that every time you go on an NFT marketplace or in your wallet and you see a picture of an NFT and the information and insights, so all this information in real time is seeded, indexed, and provided through our APIs. And yeah, that's a handy thing.
I'm Andrew Horn. Sorry. I work for NFT Cred. We are a provider of white label marketplace and minting platforms for predominantly large brands who are entering the NFT space.
Hello guys, it's a big pleasure to present here with you. And I'm working today with e-commerce strategy and digital marketing for so many different brands, GE, and now I'm working at LG Electronics. My main job there is to manage a Web3 project and digital marketing channels with a focus in sales, because I'm working in different projects with focus in NFT and metaverse. I had the opportunity for my first project with metaverse in GE with a focus in healthcare, was the first metaverse place with NFT with a focus in healthcare. And it's a big pleasure to share some of the knowledge about this area. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stillman. I'm a partner at Perkins Coie and part of our fintech practice. I got started in the crypto blockchain space really full-time when I joined Coinbase as the second lawyer back in 2014. I was there for a couple of years building out their money transmission and money services program, as well as handling all sorts of product and corporate matters. And after a couple of years, I realized there was too many other interesting and exciting things happening in the crypto industry. And so I did what I never thought I would do at the time, which was go back to the billable hour law firm model, and largely ended up at Perkins Coie because a number of my now colleagues had already built out a blockchain practice there. And I thought, well, if I'm going to go back to the billable hour, I've got to go somewhere where crypto gets to continue to be part of it. And so a lot of my practice since then has evolved to be payments more broadly, and so everything from marketplaces and crypto exchanges, as well as getting to work a lot with various NFT projects. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to have a conversation with everyone.
Thank you, Sarah. And as I mentioned, my name is John Lee. I am head of blockchain ecosystem at Shopify. And the question I get asked a lot is, what is Shopify doing in the space? And I'm sure some of you are here because of the title of this panel. So I just want to go quickly through that. Like, the main three things that Shopify is kind of focused on is the ability to do NFT token gating, which means that we do token gating as a commerce on storefront for products, and then we allow for the distribution through either sales or through airdrop, and finally we have crypto payments enabled. So that's typically answer the question of what I do. But it also kind of brings a really interesting segue to the main topic of conversations that the panel have agreed is something we do want to talk about, which is token gating generally. I very much care about token gated commerce because I believe that token gating and the ability to actually provide utilities for the tokens that exist in this world is fundamental in how we approach the space and provide the value to those that are participating in the ecosystem and net new users of NFTs. So I think a really easy example, and I don't know if any of you have checked out some of the activations that are going on around, but there's a Doodles activation that got announced yesterday that's currently running, where we've partnered with them to provide them with the ability to do token gating across the merchandise stack that they're selling, either online, in real life, at the merch store that they have on site, or through a mobile app that allows them to do token gating. And token gating, very simply told, is the ability to connect a wallet, determine what tokens are in that wallet, and process them through a set of rules to determine whether they should have access to something or not, right? Or they're entitled to something or not. It's a very simple process, and something that we've been able to do generally in the space since about 2017, 2018. But we haven't really seen an uptake in that, and I think part of it was the number of NFTs in the market was not large enough to really sustain something like that. But now, with the massive surge we've seen in the last 2 years, I think there's such a big set of communities out there that really would benefit from what those token-gated experiences mean. So I'm just going to pass it on to Andrew, who I think to see like his thoughts on token gating and if he would like to add something to it.
Yeah, so thanks, John. We've been seeing the same sort of thing. We've got these large brands who are entering the space now, and they've heard about NFTs, and they're all very trendy at the moment. And the brands want to get involved and engage their customers via these NFTs. And beyond doing a simple drop with collectibles and similar things, they're getting much more interested in utility, like providing their fans and their customers with more that these tokens can do. And a lot of these big brands have Shopify stores already. They have their e-commerce solutions. They have existing infrastructure they want to integrate NFTs with. And this is where the gating concept comes into it really easily. If you are if you bought an NFT ticket to an event, then later on you could get an invite to the merchandise store for that event, and you could get the hat or the t-shirt to commemorate you being there. And this is an area that's been seeing a lot of interest recently, and that's why we are developing the ability to have, well, right now I'm working on an integration with Shopify stores. So our white
We are
label
partners.
Yeah, we are partners. So the existing large brand Shopify stores can be integrated seamlessly with their NFTs because the end customers in many cases aren't very crypto savvy. They've come along, they've put their credit card details in, they've got their NFT, they don't know anything about wallets or the blockchain or the technology underlying it. But then being able to tell them, oh, because you own this NFT, you can also have access to the store or get a free giveaway or whatever. That's a really powerful thing.
Thank you. And I think Raphael wanted to discuss gating in other contexts.
Yes, talking about market perspective, it's so interesting that you said, because there are so many brands that never talk about this. It's so important because in my strategy, the biggest part of the time, I only think about the digital strategy with focus in sales and product, not with digital product, not the NFT. And this way, it's a one big opportunity for starting to introduce the NFTs in my strategy. And the other thing, it's building more my community, increase my community. Mainly when I work in some of the categories that we need to have so many focus, like gaming, healthcare, etc. And the other important thing, when I need to maintain this community, creating loyalty, reward, and some of things that's so important for the market strategy. And I didn't use Shopify now, but I want one day, we will talk. But it's so important to introduce this strategy, the token get commerce and the strategy, mainly when you have a big brands that will need to talk with different category, like LG, that I need to talk about TV or games, etc. But we have different targets that I need to assume some of communities and dedicate some of content and marketing strategy for some of the communities.
Thank you. So Sarah, like as a partner at a big law firm that's supporting a lot of these projects, what are your thoughts around like when brands or projects want to go into something like a token gated experience? Like, what are some of your thoughts around that? And is there any comments that you'd like to make on that?
Yeah, I mean, we could spend the entire time talking about the legal issues, but we'll skip that. But I think one of the prevailing themes is digital identity, and this is something that we have in all various ways, today where we save our credit card credentials, or we have our address saved, or our ID. And one of the things that I think NFTs enable specifically is, we talk about community. We talk about who gets to be part of a community. We talk about, should someone have access to certain content, or do we send something, or is this the right person to receive whatever airdrop or physical product for that matter. And so one of the things that I'm seeing a lot of is kind of the use of NFTs as a form of digital identity, and having that kind of token gating be part of that. Obviously, there are all sorts of interesting questions from a CCPA, GDPR. These are all personal data privacy laws that apply depending on where you're doing business. And so there are all kinds of interesting legal issues of, well, where is that data actually stored? Who gets access to it? But I actually think this sort of gating and digital identity, in a way, can solve a lot of the goals of what those privacy legislations are all designed to do, which is give you the power to share or not share information about yourself with a particular brand, with a particular company, with a particular audience, and kind of putting the control back in the owner of the data, you yourself. And so I think from both interesting legal questions of how do you square that with what the statutes actually say, and they're, like many of the regulations out there, not written with blockchain technologies in mind, but at the same time can solve a lot of the goals behind that type of legislation.
Thank you. We can definitely have an entire panel just on legal issues related to that. And Lasha, do you have some thoughts to add to what everybody has talked about so far?
Yes, actually, I want to extend on the identity part and the overall this token-gated access. So in a way, those tools, just to zoom out, really are used for the personalization of a shopping experience and the offering, right? So in a way, it's created to me being able to have a personalized access or a specific marketplace offerings that I can purchase. But I think that from a technology perspective, what is missing in the identity piece, and that's something that's coming with the NFTs, it's all about the non-transferable assets, soul-bound tokens. I think this identity piece to be built out as a social graph around the blockchains is something that's coming next. And taking all these little modules that have been created over the years, that's when we're going to see a real kind of e-commerce adoption at a larger scale for the masses. And I'm not sure we need to have a kind of physical identity attached to our future shopping, but non-transferable tokens, NFTs, my holding wallets, the data out of the blockchain is the kind of pillars that will unlock this piece.
Thank you. I think an interesting piece of the discussion that's happening now is that crossover between what NFTs are, composition of wallets, as well as what identity really means. Because I think something that's really interesting when you talk about gated anything or gating is that you do not gate an individual, you gate a wallet. And the wallet is the definition of the individual that have access to this. And one person may have multiple wallets. And you don't necessarily need to link all those wallets. You just need to have one wallet that has a composition of content, i.e. NFTs, or that can then gate access to very particular things. So in that construct, I'm just wondering if anybody in the panel has some thoughts around what are some interesting use cases that can be generated by focusing on wallet as an individual rather than the actual individual in the IRL space? What are some interesting things that could fall out of that?
I think it has the potential to change how we interact across the board on many levels of society, not just in the digital world. When I think of your driver's license that we use for identity as we use our driver's license and our passports, maybe if the analogy is that's the wallet, it's that is kind of the universal thing we use to prove who we are, where we live, what our age is, what our height is, our eye color, whether or not we wear glasses, all of these things. And at the end of the day, you're trying to get into a bar and you're getting your ID checked. no one even needs to know your birthday, let alone what your name is, what your address is, what your height is. All they need to know is the answer to a yes/no question. Are you over 21? And so I think being able to split up pieces of your identity for, to the extent of having it, whether it's in a different wallet or a different asset in the same wallet that is used as the gating item for different ways that we interact in society, could change everything from how we KYC with banks and exchanges and how we shop online, as well as how we share identity with everything from the bar to our doctors, our dentists, and everything else in between.
Great, thank you. Anybody else would like to add anything else on that?
I think that super important for the brands, especially. We mentioned about that. It's the ability to measure loyalty over time, and it's like building out these brand loyalties to a younger generation who might not be able to purchase the physical assets. And it's a really powerful tool if you look from that perspective, because you can enable not only NFT as an access token, but as a digital thing that can be leveraged over time into a physical loyalty and kind of brand loyalty.
And mainly advertise, because when you dedicate the information, you have the complete information about the journey, what you want to buy, what you want to know. It's important because you create products and some of digital assets that really impact truly the client. And it's so important because I know that exists GDPR, some of regulation that is so hard to work. We need to have attention this part, mainly with market activation, but we really continuously increasing this possibility for advertising.
I actually quite interested in the idea of the end users being able to share aspects of their persona with the different brands they interact with. Like Sarah was saying, the bar doesn't need to know what your birthday is. It just needs to know you're over 21. And that applies digitally too. Like the concept of somebody having a different persona or presenting a different face of themselves online has been around as long as the internet has. And I think the next logical step for that is using that in sort of an NFT environment, especially with identity tokens and sort of access management, which leads into the gating question. I think that's a very interesting area.
That's great, thank you. One of the discussions that as a panel we had in the back room was actually around ticketing. And the reason why I want to bring this up is that within the e-commerce space, the concept of gated commerce has existed well before NFTs have existed. When you think about things like, if you ever go to a concert and the ability to purchase a t-shirt from that concert is a gated event. You must be present in order to purchase that item. That's a gate. Within the NFT space, what it allows us to do, and ticketed events as an example, is to say, you want to purchase that particular item as well, but you can do it through an e-commerce experience that then gets shipped to your house rather than have to pick it up and carry it with you the entire time you're at the concert. And the best part about it is that you can verifiably prove that you were in attendance at that concert. So I'm just curious from the panel's perspective, like, some of these interesting further use cases of how NFTs could be used in conjunction with commerce, in conjunction with NFT distribution. Like, what are some things that you're seeing that might be coming to fruition as use cases in the near future?
Yeah, so that ticketing example is a great one. That's something we're building right now. The ability to issue an NFT ticket and then have that NFT updated when the fan or the customer attends the event, and then subsequently unlock merchandising experiences or follow-up events, airdrops, whatever after that. Like that's something that's of great interest to several brands that we're interacting with right now. So yes.
I see it also intersecting with a lot of the metaverse use cases where you go to a concert or you go to a sporting event, and then at some point later There's, the fact that you were at the concert gives you ticket to some room in the metaverse where the artist or the star of the team is presenting or has some exclusive event, and the fact that you had a ticket to a particular live entertainment game, whatever the case might be, then gives you access to something else that happens in a digital platform, and the kind of ability it's a ticket that keeps on giving.
Great. So limited time, so maybe we can come down the panel and provide some last thoughts, and maybe we can start with Lasha at the end.
Yeah, my last thoughts would be that we definitely discussed this kind of NFTs as a bridge between our own real world, physical world, our kind of experiences in the kind of virtual shopping or whatever platforms we might interact. But I think that the metaverses and the kind of future evolution of tokens will create itself a completely new, even identities that are like distributed among the different places and chains, and this will have like its own reputation or even like, I don't know, credit scoring or some pieces added to it that we might not think about right now. So I think there's a super interesting road ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think the ability to have more things unlocked by NFTs, like more experiences, more might be post-event or whatever, that's going to be happening more and more over the next few years. It's something that the big brands are becoming aware of as more than just collectible items that they can sell and airdrop and have as speculative assets. They're becoming experiential, I guess.
Yes, and it's not only events, because I saw so many new projects that introduce this strategy for events, but healthcare, I saw so many things that it's possible to do about exams, so many information that you need to share with the patient. And I think that there are so many opportunities, not only for entertainment, but these technology will be introduced for other categories that's so important to have these assets.
I think as just kind of a overarching reflection, we were asked to speak about how NFTs are going, Shopifying NFTs and what that's going to mean for the future of commerce. And as at a high level, I think it's almost still too early to tell. I think I'm very passionate about the ticketing use cases, about the identity-related use cases, but I see it converging with, regulated financial services, and how do we get access to the unbanked and the underbanked. How do we revolutionize ticketing so that the venue and the artist actually get to capture the value of subsequent sales if someone ends up buying a ticket, scalper buys a ticket, and there's so many interesting ways that it can be used. But I think back to the fact that I actually studied marketing in undergrad, and I think back to how at the time it was before the iPhone existed. And I remember one of my favorite professors talking about how no one ever is going to really want a phone that has a camera. Like, the camera is just a better experience. And like, I think back to that class and like, man, he was wrong. And not only was he wrong, the fact that we have, phones that have great cameras on them is totally revolutionized how we interact with each other, how we shop, how we consume advertisements. And so in a lot of ways, I think we're sort of at the where we were in the mid-2000s with cameras and cell phones. I think we're sort of at that stage with NFTs where there's lots of exciting things that could happen. And I think we'll be here in 10 years saying, man, I never would have predicted that, but how cool is this? So exciting times ahead.
That's kind of funny. Once upon a time, I spent about a decade building phones and in telecom. So great segue. I think it's important to remember as we talk about this topic about what does Shopifying NFT means, and where we at Shopify, and I'm here representing Shopify, is really about Shopify is open to working with both partners and merchants across the board. NFT brands are coming on board onto Shopify as merchants who want to sell token-gated merchandise to their communities because they've built amazing communities and they want to give them privileges. But we also have a lot of builders in this space that are coming to us because they have very specific use cases that they feel that all merchants could benefit from. And we're open to working with pretty much anybody who can provide some really good feature sets to merchants to make their lives better and to actually leverage NFTs in order to do so. So, I mean, I think the answer to that is, I think Shopifying NFTs is really about what are the partnerships that we can build out and what are the collaborations we can do and really distribute this concept of what platform means. Because we can't forget the tenets of what the blockchain space has provided is decentralization. And I think it's a very important tenet that we kind of need to adhere to. So at this point, I think Lisa is about to come back on stage. So
Hint,
thank you
hint.
very much.
Yes, thank you.